Guys, Michael from JC3 Students here. So today is day 6, Saturday, April the 11th, the day before Easter. And our story up until this point has, let's be honest, just been a little bleak, a little dark, and maybe even a little hard to hear in some points. And it's talked about how Jesus was betrayed by the disciples, or just one disciple, Judas, had to leave his disciples, go to the Roman governor Pilate, end up being tortured, put on trial, whipped, nailed to a cross, all of these things, and eventually stabbed in the side with a spear. And now Jesus is dead. And that's where we pick up in our story. And so they needed to do something with Jesus' body. And what happens is someone actually gives a tomb for Jesus to be put in. And tombs were a big deal in the ancient world, especially in this region. It was kind of hard to dig in the ground. It was very rocky and sandy, so it wasn't common that people would be buried the way that we bury people. So what they would do is they would find caves or natural overhangs of rock, and they would put people inside, and then they would pile up or put stones in front of the opening so that no animals or anything like that could mess with the bodies. And in Matthew 27:59 through 60, it says, "They took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen cloth. Then Joseph put the body in his own tomb that had been cut into solid rock and had never been used. He rolled a big stone against the entrance of the tomb, and he went away." So our first item today is a rock, but a much, much bigger rock than this. Estimates of the size of the rock of the tomb that was being used would probably be around 2 tons. This wasn't a rock that you would move by yourself. This was a rock that a group of men would have to move, or possibly even a horse or a mule or an ox, some sort of animal would have to be strapped up to this rock in order to put it into place, which is what makes this story so miraculous and what happens next. You see, because our next item and our last item before Easter is Easter egg, but an empty one. Now, if you were a kid growing up and you had found an empty Easter egg while you were Easter egg hunting, you may have been very disappointed, right? You may have thought, well, that's supposed to have candy in it or money in it or something. What's the point of finding an egg if there's nothing in it? But the opposite was true for the people who found Jesus' tomb a couple of days later. You see, they found it empty, and that was a cause for excitement. Not only that, but when they found it, there was an angel who came and told them, hey, he's not here anymore. He's been brought back to life. In Matthew 28:6, it says, he isn't here. God raised him to life just as Jesus said he would. Come see the place where his body was lying. You see, this all culminates the story. And while the first part of the story for most of the week was really dark and dismal and bleak, what ends up happening is Jesus is resurrected from the dead. Jesus comes back. Jesus defeats death. And so, this will be the end of our devotional. I hope you guys have been keeping up with it and answering those questions. But the story gets even better. So tomorrow, John and Luke and all the people at the church are going to be releasing on YouTube our Easter Sunday service. And that service will wrap up this story of how Jesus died for our sins, but then he didn't let death get the final word. He came back. And that's what makes this holiday so special.